Hello, welcome back to Math Time with Professor Prime, and I'm your host as always, Professor Prime. Today we're going to talk about math in Stellar Blade. So here's the thing, right? Stellar Blade is an awesome game, and I had fun, and I do want to talk about that. But what I also want to talk about is how math is used along the way. Combat will be my focus, but I'm definitely going to talk about music as well and some other things and how math just connects everything. I look forward to it. I probably won't get into the story too much, but if you want to be extra safe, I might mention something so you can assume spoilers ahead. If you're not bothered by that, or you already played the game, by all means, stick around. But if you want to play it safe, I get it. With that in mind, assuming that there are spoilers ahead, let's get into it. Don't know why I said it like that, but we're gonna roll with it. Okay, so to start, like I said, Stellar Blade is an awesome game. I had a good time. It starts off pretty solid and pretty strong, and then it gets just progressively more awesome as you go on, and you can do more and more things and have more customization options. Yeah. So to start with the basics, and I mean that, the basics. What's the idea of the combat, right? You're trying to dish out damage while not trying to take it. That's the basics, right? And then there's levels of nuance to that as you go on, and we're gonna get into that a little bit. But just right off the bat, the idea is, you have your health, your opponents have their health, and in this case, they also have shields as you have a shield. Um, and just right from that jump, there's math and that idea of taking away their health and keeping yours up or being able to recover if you need to, and I think that's cool. So if we expand a little further, when you start off the game, you have some really basic attacks that you can do, some basic combos, and just right off the jump, there's math in that. There's math not only in the basic attacks and the idea of what it does, whittling down damage, right, or using damage to whittle down an opponent's shield and health, but you have different combos that allow you to more effectively do that. And again, like right from the jump, you're playing as Eve, and Eve already has a decent amount of combos. But you can tell early on, though, that there's more coming. And I feel like even if there wasn't, it still would have been solid from the jump. But I'm glad that there was more. So you have your basic attack to start with and some different combos. But as you progress through the game, you have even more combos that you can do. And there's not only math and the idea of combos, stringing together these different movements using different buttons, but like there's math in the timing because some require you to like hit the buttons for a set amount of time or give some space in between or press repeatedly, and you also have to watch what your opponents are doing. But that's not all. So as you're going through the games, your attacks start to open up because when you start, right, um, you can attack, you can evade, you can jump around as well. And that's pretty strong, right? You could also block and parry. And there's math in all of that, right? The idea being like you can dish out damage or you can try to avoid taking it or use someone's attack to your advantage and unleash like a counter. And so as you progress through the game, there's different avenues that you could explore, right? Because you can focus on your attacks and increase, the damage that you're doing and the amount of combos that you can do and the amount of actions that you can do. But there's also like survival skills that allow you more evasive maneuvers, the ability to counter even better, more effectively, and things along those lines. But then there's also the idea of beta skills, which you have early on, and burst skills, which you have later on. And in both of these cases, you're either like dishing out damage to increase like the beta skills among other things, or doing evasive maneuvers to like increase the burst skills among other things. And the idea is, that's all math. Math for the gameplay, sorry, math in the gameplay and constructing it and all the things that you're doing in that gameplay, but also how it affects the larger narrative, right? Because as you're playing as Eve, you're progressing as she's progressing, you're growing as she's growing, you're progressing through the narrative as she is as well. And you're making all sorts of different decisions that impact how you're playing and how you progress through that story. But with everything I said, right, that's not all. Later on, you get long range attacks, and you also have the options of using different items in battles. Like for the long range attacks, you get things like guns and missiles and laser cannon and stuff like that, and they have different ammo capacities, do different damage outputs. And then you have different items, like you have some that like might stun your opponent, some that might knock them off balance. You have recovery items like for your health and things along those lines. And so when you're going throughout battle, even though you started and it's just like, hey, I'm doing these basic combos, I'm trying to avoid damage while dishing it out, right? You have math on that level, but then it gets progressively more expansive because you're able to get more combos, you're able to get stronger, able to get more health. As you're progressing through the story and doing the side quests and creating the increasing the capacity for all that. You could also collect cans during the way, and that's good if you're a collector. But like, there's actual rewards with certain thresholds for that, and that allows you to like increase different items among other things. So you have all that going, but there's more because one of the things that Eve has is like she has slots like for gear, right? And you can increase your slots up to like four. And with that gear, you can do things like increase your attack, your defense, and other stats as well. You can customize them, but that's not the only way you can customize Eve. There's the clothes, and we'll get to that. But there's the exospines, and with those exospines, they are able to like give you certain abilities and stat boosts like the gear do, or they increase your abilities rather. But that's not all. They have like certain themes, so it's like you might have some items that like increase your health or your shield and stuff like that for your gear. But if you want to really ramp it up, you go to the exoskeleton, right? There are certain exoskeletons that have that theme of increasing your attack, or increasing the chain combo chains that you're doing, and the damage output and stuff like that, or something that might increase have sorry has a theme of the sorry has a theme of increasing your defense or reflexes, right? So there are different ones that you can choose from that, and like eventually you can unlock two exospines. You have a single jump when you start, but through like side missions and doing certain things, you can get a double jump. And speaking of that, right, you have the jump and then you have the double jump, but you could also dodge while you're in the air. You can get to that point too, so you can get a little extra oomph. So it's like it's not quite a triple jump, but it does give you more distance because like if you double jump, right, it's like, oh well, I'm here and then I'm here and then just a little bit more. So it's like you won't necessarily get super high, but it helps in some situations, especially if you're trying to reach something tough. And so anyway, right, you're doing all these things, and you're able to sorry, you're getting experience points, right, or SP points, and as you go, and well, I mean, you get the experience points and like the SP points and all that good stuff. Um, However you want to call it, however you want to measure it, the idea is like you're defeating your opponents, you're going on side quests, and you're increasing your experience, right? And you start at like 0, and you go up to 100%, and you can see the gauge in the game. Once you get to 100%, you get a point, and you can play that game, increasing your points, and you can spend them. You can conserve them for a while, then spend them at once, or you can do it as you go. That's up to you. But the idea is you're getting experience points, and you're effectively leveling up Eve. You're increasing your stats, and you're increasing what you can do. And this helps you navigate the game and gives you a whole bunch of customization options. And I appreciate that. And also, as you go on, there are certain cores that you could collect to increase like your beta energy and your health. You could also collect different parts that like increase your attack, or like I mentioned the gear slots earlier, increase the amount that you have there. You can also have some schematics that you can find along the way that allow you to like pretty much effectively upgrade your long range weapons. There are a lot of options. Everything I said, yeah, there's a lot there, but there's a lot that I haven't said that's there too, and I think that's cool. So it's like you have so much to the gameplay, The combat is like, yeah, you have what you're doing in combat, but there's so much behind the scenes too, and being able to like boost your stats and just the stats in general. And I think that's really cool. And like I said, there's a lot of customization options. If you're someone who values attack, there are ways to maximize that. If you're someone who values defense, same deal. Or if you prefer evasive maneuvers or if you prefer combos, there's ways to be well rounded in all of those areas, and there's you know ways to change that up throughout the game. Like you don't have to get married to one play style, and I think that's cool. And the thing with Stellar Blade is like it's made by Shift Up, and I didn't know much about them before. Like they made like cell phone games primarily, and this was like their first console outing. Um, and I think it went really well. And so I mentioned the clothes that he's like has like our outfits. Like so as you go on throughout the game, like there are ways to just like collect outfits, like if you're doing certain side quests and stuff like that. But there are different like parts that you can gain that will boost Eve's. Sorry, that allow you to construct. I don't know why I said boost. That allow you to construct certain outfits, and I think that's pretty cool. There's a lot of options. And it's crazy because like in some games you might just have the character having one major outfit or a few, and I think like with Eve, if she just had one outfit and it was like the outfit that she started with, I mean, it's so awesome. Like the green outfit, it's shiny and it's green. So that's like more than enough to me. But like she has a lot of awesome outfits in that game. So it's like you can mix it up at any given point, even do her hair, and it's just like so. My focus has been on the combat, but I do want to talk about the music a little bit and then other elements. But yeah, to finish what I was saying, because I'm starting to go around. I like that there was a lot of customization items in the way that you play, but also her outfits because like you can mix it up or find what you like as well and stick with it. It's up to you and you're encouraged to like experiment. One of the other big things with Stellar Blade is the music. The music is stellar. Couldn't help it. Um, and here's the thing, right? Like, I don't think there was a bad track that I heard in that game, but I wanted to point out one in particular. Like, there's this Wasteland track, and even with all of the tracks in that game going as hard as they did, this one went hard by comparison. So it's like you have a bunch of good tracks that were just like they were putting their all in it, but this one it's just like oh my god, and it's just a theme that it's playing while you're in a wasteland. And if I had to describe it, it's like there's a lot going on musically, and it's like it hits you hard, but it's also like very emotional and yet chilled out. It's like it's hard to describe because there's just so much going on like in how it's composed, and you could hear so much like coming together in some really cool ways, and despite the complexity, it's like there's a simplicity to it too. You know what I mean? And it's like so it's a lot of things. It's like constructed in some complex ways, right? Like at least that's what I take from that. And yet it has this like simple feel to it. It's like it's focused, if that's a better way to say it. And it's intense because like for me, it hit me hard and at the same time it's very chill, very relaxing, very peaceful. And so, and I'm gonna link that in my description when I make the video. But it's just like crazy to me because like all the tracks were good, but even amongst like a really outstanding like soundtrack, there was just one soundtrack that was playing when you're in the wasteland of all places that just went all out, went all in, and it hit me in a very powerful way. And that's a beautiful thing. And with music, it is just an amazing thing overall, right? Because you think about sound, right? Like you think about it on a very, very basic level. We're dealing with vibrations going through a medium. It's something that's inherently mathematical, and it's something that, like, I think sounds cool to begin with, but it's like something where you're just like, okay, so that's what it is. But we do so much with sound, and it's such a big part of our lives. And when it comes to music, it's like, so, we're dealing with sounds, but it's like very deliberate sounds. And I feel like it's a good way to see like math in action. Because it's like, hey, we're taking these sounds, we're constructing them deliberately. We're having these notes, and we're having these notes played in a certain way, certain tones, and we're constructing this song where hey, we have this element, that element, and when this part's coming in, this other part's coming in after it, and you're having all these things going on in a complex way, and I think that's beautiful. But even when you're dealing with like tracks that can be like really simple, like they might not have like a lot of instrumentation going on, they might have like just a few notes that can be done effectively. And what I really think is cool about all that is like music can invoke so many different emotions, right? And I think that's cool like on its own, but also it can do the same in media, right? And gaming is no exception, right? Because like you can do certain things to invoke certain emotions or subvert them. And I think that's cool. And with video games, it's just like that could really add to the experience because like you have like different types of music, right? You have more atmospheric music. Music that's just like going on while you're just like exploring a town or an area. You have your battle music, and in my experience, a lot of those can kind of hit hard. Like either they're like really fast paced and have a lot of energy about them, or they have this like this weight to them, or both somehow. And I think Stellar Blade nailed the music, and especially with that Wasteland track, it's just like what the what? It's a track that's playing in the wasteland, and it's just like the best. Okay, so this next part, like, actually, I probably won't get into spoilers too much, but again, it's just like I said that there was that potential in the beginning, so I am gonna roll with it, so I don't hold back. And I'll say this, like, I enjoyed playing Stellar Blade, mostly because of the gameplay and like Eve is cool, but there's other parts of it too, because like not only is the gameplay dope and like Eve is like pretty kind throughout the game, um, I think like her interactions with like characters in that world were interesting, and I think the story, even though there are parts where you can kind of see where they're going, I still think it was interesting, and kind of to me it hits hard because like there are these games that like I gravitate towards where it's like you're dealing with the future, and you're dealing with something that's being said about humanity and how that looks in the future and what it really means to be human. And I think it's such an interesting idea. And I think about games like Stellar Blade, Near Automata, and like Horizon Zero Dawn. And I think about all these games that did very different things and yet were similar in some others that covered some, similar themes but in different ways. And that grabs me. And I think Stellar Blade was exceptional and stellar. Ah, I don't know. But I enjoyed it. I recommend it. And e- even though in the beginning I struggled with like the pairings, just like sometimes I gotta wire my mind for that. Um, I got good. By the end of it, I was like pairing pretty much everything. A little tougher in some of the larger boss fights, but I managed. And I used math to win the day. Yeah. In any case, that's pretty much all I wanted to say in this one. And I'll see you in the future. Professor Prime out.